Xbox says Nintendo and Sony no longer main rivals. And they're right, let's be honest. So I made a video on this about 6 months ago, and I said it on some other media forum as well. Basically, Xbox doesn't see Nintendo and Sony as main rivals, and there's many reasons as to why that is. Firstly, is money, profit coming in basically. Recently, I think about 3 months ago, Xbox were ranked 87th in the financial global earnings, and PlayStation wasn't. The future of Xbox, where Phil is taking it, is actually getting massive now. They're clamping down and making some excellent moves and really looking to the future of Xbox, which is quite funny considering a lot of people thought Xbox will, and still because you think Xbox is leaving gaming. Complete, you couldn't be more opposite if you tried. But moving on back to this, yes, they don't see PlayStation and Sony, Nintendo as their main head of gaming. As Phil Spencer, Microsoft head of gaming, said, he now considered Amazon and Google as his top rivals because of their cloud computing infrastructure. Another thing at the moment, Sony were recently trying to get into. They realised the profit that can be made, the money that can be made from cloud gaming. How long did we put up, and we still do, cloud gaming, and cloud doesn't exist and it's rubbish? You're wrong. You're all wrong. It does exist, and it's a massive deal. The biggest companies in the world are getting involved in it. Not just gaming, but all the biggest companies in the world are getting involved into cloud gaming. And if you want to stay on top, if you want to stay involved, you need to jump in it, I'm afraid, people. And as Phil says, traditional rivals like Nintendo and Sony were out of step with the future of gaming. Big talk by Phil, and it's good. I like to hear it. He's taking swings there and hitting. Yeah, because they are. They're far behind, and they're just. I mean, let's switch off this because a lot of people are going to be thinking absolute nonsense, and then go and refer console sales, which is just not a good representation of profit and success at all. I've said this in various videos, but let me just show you something here. PlayStation sales dropped 20%, but PS Plus is smoothing the next gen jump because Sony are absolutely aware that console sales, though console sales do benefit, obviously, they do not bring in a massive income. So services and software sales do far beyond console sales. Console sales is an old meta for success. Anyone that still follows this meta is just outdated. I'm sorry, it's true. And Sony know this, and all the big companies know this. The PlayStation 5 is coming. Sony Interactive Entertainment is launching the next generation console this holiday. And one of the ways you can tell it's imminent is that the company's current games business is going through a cyclical decline. As part of its third quarter earnings report, Sony announced that PlayStation sales dropped 20% compared to the same period in the previous fiscal year. And this will happen. This will happen to all companies. It happened to Xbox as well. It won't happen to Nintendo because Nintendo are not near close to the end of their generation. They've only just started. So if anything, they're just going to keep going and steamroll up. Both companies as regards to console sales, but not profit, which is most important for these companies. I don't want to, because nobody at the end of the day wants to see. I don't want to see Sony die out. I don't want to see Xbox die out. I don't want to see Nintendo die out. I want them all to keep up on par. Competition is good for gaming, and it gives a nice variety in gaming. They should all support this. You shouldn't be choosing sides. It's childish and pathetic. But moving on, Sony's gaming network services generate blah 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 blah. This goes on. But let me just highlight this for you. Let me go look. PlayStation is benefiting from subscriptions and live services. This was dated back in 2019. PlayStation 4 is nearing its end of life. Next upgrade is coming soon, as Sony Interactive Entertainment has already confirmed. That has led to a decline in revenue for the company's gaming division. There we go. That has led to a decline in revenue for the company's gaming division. Only this generation is different than in the past because the PS4's revenue decline is just a minor dip, and Sony still expects its gaming network service to have one of the best years in its history, and PS4's resilient revenue is indicative of gaming future. Because they are now pushing services, game services. They are putting games on other platforms. You've seen it all. You've seen it now. They're exclusives. Things like MLB. They're losing Yakuza and stuff. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn rumored to go to PC. Their games are now going to PC. Their games are now going to other markets to generate more revenue, because software sales and services win basically. PS now, I can see them massively making changes to this, which they've already done. They've really dropped the price of it to compete with Game Pass, and this will be massive on PS5. They will most definitely be pushing PS Plus onto everyone. But just to round up, just to round up this conclusion, there's a decline in console sales, but both companies are pushing to sell more software and services. But this is where Phil's point is originally, why he doesn't see Sony and Nintendo. Certainly not Nintendo, but Sony are now starting to pick up on this and now changing their ways, which is good on them. But this is why Phil ultimately doesn't see them as competition, and rightly so. He sees Google and Amazon because, well, let's be honest, they've got the money that can compete with Microsoft. Sony doesn't. At the end of the day, Microsoft could just buy out Sony at the end of the day. Whereas Amazon and Google are pretty dangerous, really. And they could wipe out everyone because they quite possibly would do a power play. I mean, in the past, there's even been talk of Sony teaming up with Google. I believe it was Google, could have been Amazon, teaming up with one of them anyway to just go forward with thingies. Turns out it's not happened, or nothing's come out as of yet. Sony are obviously trying to go on their own, doing their own thing, and as of recently, a few months ago, they've attained Azure Cloud from Microsoft. They're paying them for Azure Cloud because obviously they want to push this streaming and get this extra revenue without having to rely on your Googles and your Amazons. But that's absolutely where Phil is coming from. People being a bit negative about it. But he's a businessman. I do the same similar thing in my jobs. It's the way of gaming. It's the way it is, and that's what he meant by it. He's not being disrespectful as he says by it. But looking at other news at the moment from Sony, and it's this headline from a PS4 site actually. Push. PS5 patent has some fans panicking. Sony's going to push microtransactions on players. Push is probably a strong word, but will they add microtransactions? Most definitely. They've already added it to many of the games that people seem to oversee. GT Sport, they originally said, will not have microtransactions. Sold the game for 60 quid, but upon release, they threw in microtransactions into the game. And they were unfortunately paid to win microtransactions, which is very naughty in my opinion. Transactions of things like looks and cosmetics and stuff, perfectly fine because you can still play the game. It still will not affect how the game looks. And if you're into making your character just look slightly different from anyone else, you don't mind spending £5-10 on that, then bully for you. I'm not your accountant. I don't care how you spend your money. But ultimately, what is naughty is selling games for £60 and then adding in microtransactions. And this is why I don't really sort of mind games in Game Pass having microtransactions, because if you're getting a budget game, because if you take into account the games that are in it, blah blah blah, you're basically getting each of those games for £1, which is an extra service. So if I'm paying just £1 for a game, am I willing to pay then £10-15 for some microtransactions? Yes, I am. I'm way willing to do that. Way more so than if I'd pay £60 for a game and then they also want £10 off me for microtransactions. So this is definitely what Sony is doing, and it's probably going to be linked into PS Plus, as I mentioned earlier. They're probably going to throw more stuff into PS Plus, giving you more cheaper games, but with microtransactions, and that's where they make their money, because that's how mobile gaming makes 80% of its earnings, through microtransactions. And Evo just mentioned it here, Grand Producer, for example. They did do it. Sorry, I was rambling, didn't even read what you're saying here. So yes, that's another great read, along with the, as I showed earlier, the Phil speech about not seeing Sony and Nintendo as competition. This is another interesting read, which I think you should all actually read and not just look at the headline. But is Sony? Is it good for Sony to do this? Yes, I do, as long as they follow the Xbox route and start putting all their games into PS Plus and making the games more available to more consumers. Otherwise, if they're just going to be releasing still £60 games on one box and then charging you microtransactions, no, that is very, very anti-consumer, and it's very greedy, to be honest. But let's move on with the news. First, this is Xbox VR. Let's first look at Forbes' clickbaity title. Xbox head Phil Spencer rolls out VR for Xbox Series X. What a great title. Actually never said any such thing. Didn't say that at all. So I'm just going to click off this because it's absolutely clickbait. Because they're lying, basically. And let's look at the truth. Not that truth. This truth. Xbox chief Phil Spencer reveals his VR strategy. Right? Phil Spencer said Xbox isn't interested in virtual reality, at least not right now. That's what he said. He did not say next generation will not see any VR system. They're lying. Xbox has no interest in virtual reality. In a podcast published today, Radio Tech Radio asked Spencer to clarify Xbox's stance on VR following negative comments last year. This is what Phil says. I have some issues with VR. It's isolating, and I think of games as a communal kind of together experience. We responded to what our customers are asking for, and nobody's asking for VR, which they're not. As much as you can ticker parade PSVR, it's only sold 5 million units on a console with 110 million units. That's not brilliant maths. You just don't want to invest the amount of money for that much, because the amount of money that's gone into VR, plus all the making. That's why it's no Sony AAA studios are making games for VR. They're not. You're not seeing Naughty Dog make games for it. You're not seeing Santa Monica. None of the big games studios are making games for VR. In fact, Sony just closed a VR game studio. So because while there are 5 million VR units sold, there's even less software being sold for it. So it's just, as it stands right now, not a lucrative income, and Xbox and Phil see this last generation. But as for next generation, we're never going to close our eyes to where things are going. I don't hope it goes away. I hope it gets bigger. I hope it's something that just so important that it'd be a no-brainer for us to go and support. See, so basically, he's just reading public's opinion of it. What he's doing is sitting back, seeing how it goes. If it starts to pick up, then he will most definitely push VR onto next generation. But what Forbes have said, Phil said there is no VR for next generation. Absolute bullshit. Absolute lies. Why are you lying? Why do people keep bait like this? The truth is, Phil is most definitely and really into VR. Once the adoption picks up and it gets bigger, he will be right on board. But as it stands, it's just not that big, and it is just not that great so far. And as he says, he just does want to jump on a bandwagon just for the sake of jumping on a bandwagon. So there's that news. So anyone interested in VR, will it be out for Xbox next year? It depends how big it is, basically. If it gets popular and big, then it will definitely be all hands on board. Otherwise, I agree with him. There is just no point in pursuing it. It's just not at the moment going there, because I don't think the technology is good enough for it, to be honest. Let's move on to my final bit of news, which I sort of already glimpsed at. Okay, and for my final bit of news that recently just come out about 2 hours ago, it will move Need for Speed development back to Criterion. It was apparently with a Swedish dev at the moment, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So basically, they're moving it back to the UK. just because they want to pick up the Need for Speed franchise. I mean, the problem is the thing is with the racers is that racers have never been that big. Even the Forzas now. I mean, they're great games. Forza's by far leading the charge as the most superior racer of this generation, taking it away from Gran Turismo. But Need for Speed has always been on the sidelines, and they obviously want to pursue and get it back into consistently delivering that AAA level experience. So it'd be interesting to see where Need for Speed goes in the future. I mean, it's an interesting concept, and I'm not a big racing fan, so this news isn't really for me. But what is interesting is it is going to a UK studio, and generally the UK do make good racing games, as racing is pretty big in the UK anyway. All forms of racing, car racing. So there's that news. So yeah, I'm sure some of you a big race out there and interested in that news that's just dropped. Criterion is a fantastic studio, and we're looking forward to adding to their talented team and building a great future for Need for Speed. The engineering teams in Gothenburg are also vital to our ongoing plans across EA. So obviously so I think their Swedish team, dev team, EA are possibly going to push other plans and ideas on them, and not going to just kick them out basically, which is always good. Because EA gets a lot of press at the moment, and it's good that they're still going to support that other dev team. But so that's my news roundup. I mean, this literally just did drop 2 hours ago. This bit of news, so it won't be out there yet. Thank you all for watching. Please sub and share. And I'm not on Twitter, but please share me on Twitter. I'll give up on it. It was just too toxic and nasty. I can't stand the thing. I might get back to it because I am going to reevaluate my channel, and I'm going to start doing podcasts and stuff. When I'm going to have a new intro, new name, and everything. But I'll go into that another day. But please sub, and please slap that alarm button and share wherever you can. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye for now.